So today is going to be part one of paint day. I've got all my components in my tank, my two side covers, my rear fender, primed, wet sanded to 600 and ready for paint. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up overhead using my lift to get my tarps and my fans and whatnot, and the filters and stuff that I set up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my paint booth over here in the corner. You can see spots in the wall where I'm testing my gun before. Some white paint there from some doors I did, the red paint from when I did ATC. So we're going to go ahead and move the chassis to 125. We're going to move the ATC 70, get them out of the way, set up the paint booth, and we're going to go ahead and get everything hung up in the booth and ready to spray some paint on it. So let's go ahead and get that booth set up. So that was the 10-minute paint booth setup. So I'll just go ahead and bring you inside and show you what the setup is like inside. You can see I've got a simple filter here to take air in, make it as clean as possible. So I know there's going to be air leaking around everywhere else, but it'll come in through there mainly. I've got this 120 volt AC fan hooked up, so that's currently sucking in. So if I go outside my garage, right here is where that's ventilating out of the paint booth. So it should create a bit of a downdraft with air coming in up top over on this side, and then being sucked in on the bottom and blasted out of the building here. So let's go inside and have a quick look, and we'll get stuff ready for painting. So this is it inside. It's pretty tight quarters. I'll give you the all the way around view. Not much to look at. It's about 4 feet by 7 feet inside. There's a couple spots there for hanging stuff up. You've seen that before. There's the exhaust fan. There's the inlet, filtered. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some stuff hung up, and then we're gonna go ahead and get some paint on some stuff. Okay, so here's the gun setup. I've got the air desiccant here, followed by regulator so we can keep this at the right pressure, followed by the gun. This should be all set from the last time I used it when I painted the ATC 70, and then a little small cup on top. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my paint, get that ready, get it mixed up, get the cup filled, and then we're going to go ahead and wipe off our parts and get some sprayed. So I already emptied out the rest of the paint that I had. Hoping I got enough to get there. We'll see how it goes when I start spraying. This stuff has a pot life of 8 hours, so it should last long enough for me to get a few coats down. I'm just going to get everything I can in here, and then we'll get it all mixed up. So the way the Shopline JTX stuff, the single stage stuff that I've got works, is the mixture ratio is 4 parts paint, 1 part the hardener, 2 parts the reducer. So So now I'll get something to stir this up with. We should be able to get that poured in our gun, get ready to do some spraying.
Okay, so I've got my paint ready, clean gloves on, my mask, my suit, everything's good to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take the gun into the booth, get some spraying done. I'd like to bring you in for that, but I don't want to get my camera full of paint. So I'll bring you back after coat 1 and we'll have a quick look at what we got done so far.
Got about that much paint left in the hopper. There's still a bit left in our container. Just put coat 1 on the parts. I'm going to stick you in here quick. It's probably not going to look very good because it's probably still going to be a bit hazy in there with all the stuff in the air, but a quick look, see. There's tank, Fender, and our 2 side panels. So we're going to give that about 10, it says 5 to 10 minutes at 21 degrees Celsius. It's currently 17 in here, so I'm going to give it about 15, and we're going to hit it with coat 2. So I just finished coat number 2. Still plenty of paint left in the gun. Quick peek at the tank. There it is, and we're going to close this up. Give it another 15 minutes and come back for coat number 3. So I just finished putting the last coat of paint on. A quick peek, and we're going to leave this to dry for a couple days. The tank's still swinging. There's a tank. There's a rear fender. There's a tiny little run on the rear fender. Nothing I can't take care of. A little bit of wet sanding, polishing. But yeah, so this is painted up and we're hopefully good to go. So now I got the tank done. The tank turned out pretty good. The finish is still kind of orange peely, which is usually the case with this single stage stuff. So there's a very good chance, and by very good I mean 100% chance, that I'll be doing some wet sanding and polishing on this. But first thing we want to do is we're going to want to tape this off. So essentially what happens is the portion of the tank under where I'm marking with my finger now, probably like here and then up to here, goes black. So today I'm going to go ahead, tape off what we're going to need to make black, give it a little scuff, and we're going to go ahead and hit it with some high gloss black paint. We'll do that for a couple coats on both sides to get that done. And in between coats while that's drying, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our freshly painted light assembly all put back together, as well as the freshly painted battery box and the plastic that I got cleaned up and a few grommets and whatnot. Get a new cotter pin in there for the hinge. We'll go ahead and get that nut cleaned up, all that stuff. So without further ado, let's get this tank taped, scuffed, and get some black paint on the bottom of it. Okay, so I've got my tank taped up. It's looking pretty even, both sides. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, first things first, had a bit of a drip, so I'm going to cut that off. I'll probably just actually take some 80 grit sandpaper and sand that away, and when it's pretty much gone, or actually I might cut it off. Yeah, I'll probably cut it off. And then we're going to scuff all this outside surface up. Maybe a bit on, yeah, I'm not even going to bother the inside. I'll just spray this from the bottom anyways. So we're going to scuff up all this surface here that's exposed. And we're going to go ahead and hit that with some gloss black. So I'll bring you back when it's time to hit that stuff with some paint. So we've got one side roughed up so far. So I'll give that a hit with the tack cloth and I'm ready to paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And then we'll get the tack cloth out. So now that I've got both sides, the bottom part of the tank scuffed off with 600 grit sandpaper, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my tack cloth, wipe down both sides, give the other side a quick wipe too, because some of this will get hit with some paint, but it's not like it's gonna be visible, so I'm not too concerned with what happens up under here. So yeah, so this side over here, give it a quick wipe, and we'll go ahead and we'll get a few coats of the high gloss black on it. Totally forgot to hit record there, but either way, here's very light coat number 1 of the black. So you can see how I did the bottom. I just did a bit of a line up one side, up the other. Should be good. Like I said, the bottom side of this tank is not going to be visible, but I wanted to make sure I just did a bit extra coverage around. I mean, I could potentially do the rest of the bottom of the tank as well, but I'm just going to leave it that way for now. And then the other side as well. So this stuff calls for a couple minutes, a few minutes between coats. So I'm going to do 3 to 4 coats of this. So let's give this a couple minutes to dry. We'll hit it with another coat of paint. Coat number 2. Coat number 3. Final coat. So here's our result after peeling the tape and plastic off. I just had to push it up top and wrap it around because it's still kind of hooked through where I've got the wire hooked through the tank. So you can see just a light bit of stuff in the bottom, bit on the edges or whatever up in the tunnel, still red mostly. But if you come to the outside and have a look here, see a nice fine line between the red and the black on this side, and as well on this side. So we're going to give this 24 hours to do its thing. Then we should be ready to do some wet sanding and polishing. And then this thing will be ready for some stickers. So let's go get that light and battery box put together. So let's go ahead and put our battery box all back together. So we got our hardware cleaned up, new cotter pin, all the good stuff. Okay, so that's the battery box done. I didn't bother putting the bend in the cotter pin yet. I'll do that once I get the battery installed and all that. So let's reassemble the front headlight. So here's our light assembly, all reassembled. We're gonna go ahead and put this over on the completed parts shelf with everything else, and then we'll have one more quick look at the tank. So I want to make sure once I get the runs down just about flush to the rest of the paint, that's when I'm going to switch to 600. I'm going to do the entire surface lightly in 600. After we do 600, we're going to go with 1000, and then we're going to finish it off with 2000. And once everything is all good and matte with the 2000, we're going to come back and we're going to get things polished up. So at this point, I just want to show you guys what the real goal is of wet sanding. So as you can see along this edge here, everything looks really smooth and uniform. Right at the very end here, you'll see there's a couple low spots. I'm not going to go too deep there because I don't want to mess up my edge of the panel here. But if you look at this piece I just started sanding, so you'll see there's kind of like bumpy spots along right there. So essentially you're trying to do is you're trying to get rid of all those bumpy spots, and that essentially gives you this super flat surface. So when you polish this, it comes out looking like a mirror. So instead of keeping you guys on board and watching 4 hours of me wet sanding, I'm going to continue getting all these panels to look just like this. And then we're going to polish them up, and I'll bring you guys back so you can have a look at the final product. Okay, so now that things are wet sanded, I'm ready to start polishing. I didn't bother doing this area because this would be entirely under sticker anyway. So was most of this, but I did what I did. So I've got my first foam pad dampened. There's a bunch of polishing compound on that. Got some polishing compound on this, so we're going to go ahead and start getting this polished now. So I'll do a bit, and then we'll bring you back when it's all done. So that's pad number 1. Things are still a bit matte, starting to get a little bit shiny. I'm going to go ahead, swap in pad number 2, and continue, give this a wipe off, and then continue the polishing process. So that's pad 2. Things are starting to get a bit shiny. So I'm going to go ahead and go through pads 3 and 4, give this a wipe off, bring you back, and just show you what the results are like. So there's the panel after polishing. You see things are looking pretty reflective, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to do that with the rest of the stuff we got here now, and then we'll do the gas tank. So we've got the tank. This is what it looks like before. You know, it's a bit orange peely. You can see some reflections in it, but once again, it's a bit orange peely. We've got one little spot here. Thankfully, the white and black lines of tape go right over where that is. So we'll sand it a bit, but it's still going to be visible, but it'll be under vinyl. And then once again, it's reflecting, but it's orange peely. So we're going to give it a good cleaning, some water, and wipe it down with a paper towel. I'm going to go ahead and start with the 600 grit, go to 1000, go to 2000, and then we are going to polish this to a nice mirror shiny finish. So I will bring you guys back at some point in the future. So just finished up the wet sanding on the tank. See, it's looking mighty nice and smooth. So now I'm going to go ahead and dry it off and we'll get down to polishing.